Okay, this is part 2 of the first video, head coverings. Okay, I went into Wayikra, Leviticus, and I'm in 1 Corinthians 11 now, but I'm at verse 11. If you want to hear everything I said up until verse 11 of 1 Corinthians 11, go to the first one. Okay, but I'm going to continue for those who were watching. Now, verse 11 says this. Okay, to give a little bit of a recap, we were talking about verse 10. You know, for this cause ought the woman to have power on her head. And we said that the power was referring to the man, which is why 8 and 9 was talking about the man is not for the woman, but the woman for the man. Or the man is not of the woman, but the woman is of the man. This is why I'm saying that, because verse 10 says this, for this cause ought the woman to have power on her head. And Yehukanan, or John chapter 10, verse 34 says, the men are gods. Are you not gods? This is written in the Torah, meaning you are gods, but you shall die like men. And the word God is not really supposed to be God. The God is a deception word. It deludes and eludes you from what the word is really saying. So even when you say God, oh, I believe in God, you don't even really know what you're saying. The word God should not really exist. It should be power or powers, plural, which is in the correct term in the Hebrew, Eloah or Elohim. So that is what it's saying. So for this cause ought the woman to have Eloah on her head because of the Malachim. So what power should be on her head? The men, which is John 10:34. The men are the powers. When it says you are gods, meaning you are powers, but you should die like men. So these men that were powers, which are all of us, are the ones who have dominion, which is why we are supposed to be leaders of families and etc., which is why we're in the mess that we're in, because women have become over top of men, meaning women have been given power over top of men, which destroys the power of the black families, which is why we can never excel and progress. But going back to the scriptures, so we're going back to 11. Finishing up in 10, it said she must have power on her head because of the Malachim. And we said in the first video that the Malachim were the fallen Malachim, the 10 Satans that came down at first, that were taking the wives of the men. And one of the Satans is Lilith. Lilith left Adam. That was the first wife of Adam. She left Adam to go marry a fallen angel. And when the heavenly angels that were not fallen, or the heavenly Malachim that were not fallen, they tried to get her back, she wouldn't come. So they cursed her. And what happened was they left, and then Adam was alone. And he said, it's not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper for him. And that's when he took the rib out of Adam and made Chava. Lilith wasn't made from the rib. She was made from the dust as Adam was made from the dust. That's why Bereshit 5:2 says he called both of them, male and female, Adam. They were both one Adam. They weren't Adam and Eve. It was Adam. So it's telling you here that the first one, Lilith, was made of the dust of the earth with Adam, and they were both called Adam, but she left him and had to make another. The Most High had to make another of his rib and called her Chava, woman. For flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. And she was fashioned. She wasn't created. She was fashioned from his rib. Lilith wasn't. So basically, that's what's going on here. Because of the Malachim who were fallen and taking the men's wives and going to war with the Malachim that were fallen, this is why women must have power on her head, or else the fallen angels will have power or dominion over top of you without you knowing it or with you knowing it. Which is why I say rebellion is witchcraft. Meaning, when a woman is rebellious against a man, she's quicker to, snap back, argue, yell, bicker, debate, not be humble and stuff like that. That's telling you, it's telling a wise man that there's a fallen angel in her, or she's covered by a fallen angel. So when it says rebellion is as the spirit of witchcraft, it's actually saying rebellion for a woman, rebellion is witchcraft. So rebellion against some right ruling man is witchcraft, period. It's not like the spirit of it is witchcraft. So every time a woman rebels against a man, she vexes him, because in the natural order of things, she's supposed to submit to him, and that gives him power by her submitting to him and him leading her without her vexing him. It gives him power and hope and drive and motivation, aspiration and inspiration to go forward about things in life, to plan and come with ideas and bring things to fruition and to life, and then being fruitful, and then they'll be able to multiply and replenish the earth with right ruling. So that's what all of this is getting back to. All of this stuff is getting back to the beginning, Bereshit. Before there was a Torah, before there was even money, all of this is bringing us back to Chokmah, meaning heavenly wisdom and not fallen wisdom. That's what it's bringing us back to. So this is what Paul is saying according to Torah. It's all about the order of things that's been twisted up as we see it is today. As women on Facebook don't have coverings, they just, have a whole bunch of different brothers that just simps and all up on them, white knights, and they just, just here and there. They don't really have a man to say, oh, Ak is my covering, or Morey so-and-so is my covering. They can't say that. They just say, well, I listen to this person and this person. They can't really, they're not spoken for, which they really need to be. They need to be reserved. As a restaurant, when a man goes into a restaurant and he have a woman on his arm, they don't say Mrs. So-and-so. They say Mr. So-and-so. And, oh, your name is here, sir, Mr. Gibson. And whoever's with me gets in. So she's spoken for just being with me. It doesn't matter who she is. It's just she's with me under my name, which goes to Isaiah 4:1. It doesn't mean that you're going to get married and there's going to be polygamous sex with all these different kinds of women. It said 7 women should bake their bread in one oven. It didn't, and they will take care of themselves. It didn't say you got to provide for them because they're going to provide for themselves. They're going to be able to take care of themselves. They're just going to need you to cover them, and they're going to need your name. And they're going to understand this later, and they're going to beg you to be covered, to cover them. So it's not going to be a thing of men doing anything. It's just going to go back to a rightful order. So we see here women are going to understand that they need to be covered or they need to be reserved, or else they won't make it. They need a bosom to dwell in when they die, Everybody's not going to heaven. You might go to Sheol. You might not go to hell, though, but you might go to Sheol. But when you go to Sheol, you're going to need a bosom to dwell in. You're going to need somebody. You're going to need a house. So the man is your house, and the Messiah is the man's house. And the Father is the house of the Messiah, which is why he said, the day shall come when you will neither ask of me, for anything that you need of the Father, but you will ask him of yourself. But as for right now, we need the Messiah to speak for us. But the day will come when everything is over, no more sin, we won't need the Messiah to cover us. Then we will be able to go to the Father for ourselves. All of this is keeping it in order here. So after all of that, going to verse 11, it said, nevertheless, neither is the man without the woman, neither the woman without the man and the master. So basically, we need one another, which takes us back to Bereshit 5:2. We are, meaning man and woman together is one being, one creature, excuse me. Man and woman together is one creature, Adam, which is in Bereshit 5:2. Also 127, Bereshit 127. It tells us that he created the male and female together, meaning if male and female parts supposed to be one being, just why it says they must be one flesh. Man and woman leave their father and mother, and they become one flesh. Achad. They become one. They're not supposed to be separate like him and her. You can say I'm the male part and she's the female part, but we are one part. This is my left arm, this is my right arm, but this is just one body. That's what you're supposed to say. It's not supposed to be divided. So yes, one Adam is a man and a woman, or one creature called a human being is a man and a woman together. That's a human being. Not just a man by himself and a woman by himself, but because things are corrupt and everything, it just, peradventure, you might have a man that ends up a virgin when he dies, or a woman that ends up a virgin when she dies, or a man that gets castrated and never gets to have sex or never gets to have children, or, you might have it where people might live alone for the rest of their life, or a woman might get raped and she become a harlot and never get married, and it's just like that, singularities and stuff here. It's just that's what it is. A lot of people are singular, and it's like become the norm when it's not the norm. The norm is a man and a woman being one human being together, as called Adam. Read Bereshit 5:2. It tells you that directly. They both together is called Adam, not Adam and Chava. Adam. So that's what verse 11 is saying. And verse 12 says, for as the woman is of the man, even so is the man also by the woman, but all things of Elohim. So that means we are one. We need each other. So things were made for us to need each other, but the order is man and Messiah, man, woman. But we need each other, which means we're not to discredit one another. We're supposed to look at each other in equal light, as in respectful as souls. We're supposed to be looking at each other equal. But when it comes to order, the woman is supposed to be under the man and be the one to be the quickest to be silent and the quickest to be humble, than to try to usurp and make her statements like, well, I think this and I think that. She's supposed to be the quickest one to humble down and let the man lead. even if he's wrong. It's supposed to be the man being wrong, and then he has to apologize later, rather than the woman being wrong and she has to apologize, which they never do. They'll just try to some kind of way, oh, I still love you, or, they never apologize for what they did or what they said. They just try to just sugarcoat it with something like some sweet words. I still love you, or, don't worry about what happened. It was that I didn't know what was wrong with me, and they never apologize. They just try to sweeten, sugar it. But men, you let them be wrong because we know how to come back and apologize. We know how to heal you in the area that we didn't hurt or cut if we are wrong. But if you're dealing with a good man or right ruling man, it will be rare that he'll be wrong and deal treacherously or, wickedly with you. But a woman, if you give them power, they'll tend to deal wickedly with you, which is what happened with Chava. She thought to get this newfound wisdom, and she tried to use her authority over man by controlling Adam to eat the fruit. She tried to trick him, deceive him into eating the fruit, by persuading him. Well, okay, if you eat the fruit, just tell the Most High that, just blame it on me. Just tell him that I made you eat it. And then if he come to me, I'll blame it on the snake. They actually said that. So she deceived him by persuading him, which means she was the one in error, and he followed her instead of her following him. And that is where you don't let women get in authority like that, because it's more prone that they'll be wrong and they won't apologize or correct themselves. But men will. So verse 13, it says, judge in yourselves, is it comely that a woman pray or petition or ask to Elohim uncovered? Does not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame to him? Now, what is long hair? If you don't know halakha or have some type of sense or form of what halakha is or what is considered long hair, then you'll make up your own thought of what long hair is, which is why to some people long hair is this, to some people long hair is that. Long hair is actually, to your shoulder, to your neck. Once it gets to your shoulder, you pole it. So Samson, actually, a razor never came upon his head. True, a razor never came upon his head, but he did pole his hair. I mean, his hair wasn't dragging on the ground fighting 1,000 men. Somebody would have stepped on it by then and used his hair and knocked him down. It would have been that. It was somebody would have stepped all on his hair and all of that. He had a hard time washing it and all of that. But the problem was, it wasn't that. The problem was that razor shall not come upon his head, not his hair. So yes, he was supposed to trim it or pole it at his shoulders. It's not supposed to go beyond your shoulders. A woman's hair is supposed to go as long as it possibly can go, which is her esteem. But in other countries, they still maintain that integrity where women's hair comes way beyond their butt and stuff like that. But today, it's the norm where women just wear weave and got short hair. So in our minds, we perceive it as it's not really talking about that long. It's just talking about maybe just to the shoulder too, because women trim it here. No, men can allow their hair to swing to the shoulder and no longer. So that is long hair. So it is a shame for a man to have hair on his back, down his back and stuff, swinging and all that. Flicking it like a woman and all that. It's just a shame. But if a woman have long hair, it is an esteem to her, for her hair is given her for a covering. So now he's going into the physical aspect of it, trying to help you see it many different ways. So a woman is not supposed to pray uncovered, meaning without a man there. Even when a man there, a woman's supposed to pray covered. So whenever she petitions, yes, she's supposed to have a fabric covered, but she's still supposed to have a covering. A man is her covering. So when she comes before the Most High, she already is coming with the covering of a man. So whenever she petitions, she already, the Most High already see that she's covered by her man or her covering. Okay, she's covered. Hear her petitions. Let them things come on up. If not, oh no, Shaitan is going to snatch those petitions of yours, and it's not going to really get answered. He might have mercy, might have, sympathy for you, but oftentimes if a woman is not covered by a man, her petitions aren't being heard because she's already in direct, opposition of the Torah by not being covered by a man. She's supposed to have a man as her covering, a father or something, but because fathers are not there, it's almost like the norm for fathers not to be in these households. So automatically in women's minds, when I say you're supposed to be covered, sis, they think in marriage and sex. That's how twisted the things are today. That's how twisted logic is today. Like if somebody was to say, if you don't work, you don't eat. They're not talking about gardening or tilling the ground. They're just talking about making money. So the way the world is today, our wisdom is so twisted up. It's way twisted up. It's not pure like it's supposed to be in the beginning, better sheep. when there was no money. There was no dollar bills. There was no George Washingtons or Benjamins. You had gold, but gold was used to build stuff. It wasn't used for to be valued upon. It had value, but it was not used to give some type of monetary value to. Cain started that with with Azazel or Azazel. He was the one that possessed Cain and started having them invent weapons and invent, borders and castles and walls and going to war and spoiling people and taking their stuff and weights and talents. Read Josephus right there in the beginning to tell you that Cain started all of this with the help of Azazel. And it tells you that in Enoch that Azazel came down, one of the 10, and was teaching the men, the sons of men, how to kill each other and how to make weapons and arrows and all this stuff, weapons, tools of warfare stuff. He was the one, through Cain, he did it. So the first man that murdered somebody, it was with the help of Azazel or Azazel, one of the fallen ones, which is the main one that we call Satan, but it's actually 10 of them. So, so this is what this thing is all about. It's all about the covering. It's all about the spirit of the thing. But to show a physical manifestation of your spiritual obedience, you will cover your head. The women would veil themselves, not necessarily always have to veil here, but you're being more obedient by veiling yourself here. You know what I'm saying? You're being more obedient. You're not caring what people think. You're just following your custom and your culture. But women would cover themselves like Muslimas, at the most, or head wraps. If a woman is still borderline American, she will cover herself with head wraps. She won't look like a Muslima. I gotta say that because they're the ones doing it. So they're the reference I can use. I really shouldn't have to say Muslimas. I should be able to say covering themselves like real Israelite women. But I'm using Muslims because that's the way people, think that that's strange or whatever. But anyway, that's the right way to do it. So women would cover themselves with a tashel or veil themselves, etc., like this, or just veil their whole body, their neck and stuff like that, shoulders, or head wrap it. That would be what you would see. Some sisters let the hair hang out and all of that. You're not really supposed to do that, but, you can wear a lighter fabric where the breeze can get to your head rather than letting your hair hang loose. But anyway, the men are supposed to wear some type of turban, toboggan like I got on, or kufi, which does not cause one to sweat. That's what it's supposed to be. Or if you just have a headband on, you're still covering your head. The head is the head, all of the head. It's not talking about certain portions like the Star of David piece right here, just showing that little opening piece right here, or just the turban piece where a whole lot of your head is showing open, but the sides is covered up real nice and neat, or just a headband where your forehead is covered and everything else is, no, your head is covered. So like a man is supposed to have some type of covering on his head, but not to be covered like women. And yes, when you pray, a petition, men are supposed to put talits on. Normally, this is suggested that men put talits on, and that is also a covering that Paul made. So he wasn't talking about, fabric coverings. If he was talking about men shouldn't wear it the way women are wearing it. If he's saying anything about men shouldn't cover themselves when praying or prophesying, he's talking about the way women are doing it. He's not talking about hats and toboggans and turbans and stuff like that. And kufis. So, anyway, going on. But verse 16 says, "But if any man seem to be contentious, we have no such custom, neither the assemblies of Elohim." Now, what this is actually saying is this. He's saying as to say, we have no custom of men having long hair, and women having short hair, or men veiling themselves like women, and women not veiling themselves. Like, we have no such custom. It is not in our Torah. And the reason why I say that is that way, because according to Torah, because it takes us back to Wayikra or Leviticus, where the priests, they covered their heads. They were commanded not to uncover it. They were commanded to keep their heads covered, basically. They were not supposed to uncover their heads. So, in that sense, in order to keep it in context to what the Torah is saying, thus saith Yohewah, then what Paul is saying, that men are not supposed to do what the women are doing, the women are not supposed to do what the men are doing. So we have no such custom of, men with long hair and women without long hair and women not uncovered, and we have no such custom as which are doing. Our custom in the Torah is men with kufis and turbans, and whether the top was open or not, men with kufis or turbans, and women with veiled heads and long hair, and men with polled hair with locks, and they just polled at the neck. You know, that is what our custom is. But what he was talking about, all of this stuff about the long hair, we have no such custom. That's what he's saying. We have no such custom. So y'all tripping. Get in order. Get it together with the head coverings and with the men covering you, and the women trying to have authority over your head. Because having shaven heads, women having shaven heads in Corinth was saying that a woman didn't have an authority figure. She was a wicked prophetess, or a wicked priest or something. She was wicked, so she was out there like women pastors that don't know what they're talking about, uncovered, loose. Woman, thou art loose. That's what she is. So her head used to be shaven. That's why I say it is the same as if you were to be shorn or shaven. Yeah, because women would shave their head to say that they're uncovered, they're loose. That was how it was happening in Corinth. But we have no such custom, is what Paul was saying. We have no such custom of women just doing that. That's crazy. So get in order to the custom. So he's talking to Gentiles here, or those who are Israelites born in the Gentile culture, which as today we are Israelites born into a Gentile culture. So that's who he's talking to, Gentiles. Whether you're an Israelite Gentile or you're just a Gentile, that's who he's talking to. So all in all, head coverings, I believe we're supposed to cover our heads, or we can cover our heads. I believe that. So I kind of stand firm on that. I kind of don't compromise that one thing, because petitioning, I feel like my petitions aren't being heard, or I'm not honoring the Father by covering my head. Also, putting the kufi on symbolizes that the Messiah is your covering. That's a physical symbolization that the Messiah is your covering. And a woman veiling herself is a symbolization that she has a man as her covering, or someone in authority is her covering, as a man in the Most High. And that is a symbolization, just as water baptism is symbolizing your being born again of the Ruach. These are symbolizations. So that's what it is, as well as the tzitzit shows that you're in obedience to the Torah, as in you keep the Torah. Everything that we do is physically, the way we dress and everything is a symbolization of the spirit. So I believe that we must wear some type of kufi or turban or something, toboggan or something on our head always, unless we're asleep. When we're asleep, we're not supposed to. Or if you're in your own house, you don't have to cover your head. Even women don't have to cover their head if they're in their own house. But in public, before different kinds of powers that's in the air while you're out and about, you're supposed to have something on your head. Even when you're petitioning, you're supposed to have something on your head so that the powers that be won't try to, take what don't belong to them and try to, puppeteer you or turn you into a marionette, or become a marionette to you. And that's what that is moving. If you ever had that sense, like that elevator sense, when you're in the elevator and you just go down and then your head get light, like, whoa, my head just felt real light real quick. That is how critical it can be with the covering thing. It's all about the powers above that can come on your head, because the most of your energy come out of your head. That's why when you put a hat on in the cold weather, it's to keep the heat or the energy in your head. So you're supposed to keep your head covered, so for the sake of the fallen powers that's here. It's not about, you and dishonoring the Messiah. Dishonoring the Messiah is having another person or another deity or another Elohim or God or whatever over you. It's a shame to have anybody but the Messiah as your covering. It is a shame. As well as the women, it's a shame for her to have anybody else over her, even a woman in the Most High or in Yahweh. If she had anybody other than a man of the Most High as her covering in the Torah, that is a shame to her. Or if she had no man, it's a shame to her. So if a woman is covering another woman, that's a shame. Shouldn't do that. If a man is covering another man, that's a shame. You shouldn't do that. Yes, a man is supposed to teach another man, guide him along the way, so that he can be a leader, at least at the minimum level of a family. A man is always supposed to be a leader or a head, at the least of a family. That is why a lot of men are falling off. Young men are falling off because they are not walking in that leadership position. He don't have to be a leader of an assembly or a big, huge following or something, but of a household, he is at the least is supposed to be, because every man leaves his father and marries a wife and cleaves to his wife, and they become one flesh. So he's supposed to at the least become a leader of his wife and children, if he has some. So every man is supposed to be a leader. So that's why a man is not supposed to cover a man, and a woman is not supposed to cover a woman, because a man is supposed to cover a woman. And women also, because they try to play the authority figures, they tend to sway women off the path. Right ruling women, they don't cover a woman, but they suggest the woman how to get a right ruling man, or how to what things she's supposed to do in order to find her a right ruling man. That's what a woman does, and that's what a man does for a man. Show him what he's supposed to be to get a right ruling woman and what to look out for. But we're not supposed to cover one another or have dominion over one another. But it's supposed to be in this right order as Corinthians. So that's all Corinthians really is talking about. It's not talking about fabric, because we already see Leviticus is talking about at least the high priest. Even if you just say the high priest, and you said that every man, must not pray and prophesy with his head covered. But you see high priests have their head covered. So when they go into the temple, when they go into the most set apart, their head is covered. So it's not veiled like women, but it's covered with something on their head. Else they don't go in there. Or it's tallited, or have they have a tallit on of some form. Or else they don't go in there. You have to be dressed the appropriate way, and you have to come with the appropriate ruach. So that's why I see us having our heads covered, no matter if it's a headband, a turban and the top is open, or you have the Star of David with the top is open. It doesn't matter. If anything, it's going to be the star of the Messiah rather than the Star of David. But if you say the Star of David, I mean, you could say that. It would rather be more than likely the star of, you could say the Star of Molech, but that would be probably a mimic star. But the appropriate star would be the star of Abraham, the star of Messiah, the star of the Messiah, the star of Moses or Moshe. All the same star would come around whenever the right person was supposed to be born. And the same star came when Abraham was born, and Moses was born, Moshe was born, and the Messiah was born, that I have record of. It may be others, like David, but I don't know. But as record that I do know of, the same star in the east was the star that these three patriarchs, Abraham, Moshe, and the Messiah. So these are you can say the star of those three. So I don't see the star as wrong. I think that somebody took it and made a perversion out of it, or made it wicked, because Shaitan never has an original idea, and that we must always remember that. Shaitan never has an original idea. He only takes that which is original and pervert it so that you will run away from that which is original. For instance, I'll get into another video. My time is almost up. I'll get into another video about Egypt, Mitzrayim, and the three pyramids. That the pyramids that were being built were actually the pillars that Seth built, that was supposed to be a symbolization for us to know which flood was going to come first. And those pyramids that they rebuilt were the ones that fell down with the flood. But the foundation was still there. It was actually a big, huge temple where Seth actually inscribed the writings and history inside of the pyramid. And it was, others say it was some type of device, but I'm not going that deep. But it was pillars for us to have a history of what happened before even Egypt exists. From Egypt all the way into Turkey was land of Seir, the land of Seir, which is the land of Seth's sons and all of them. And that is the land where Seir, in the Hebrew, the word Seir means pretty much a lot of the descent of Melachim would come in that land. That is the land of the descent of angels, where they would come and deal with the people, which is why on pyramid walls you see UFOs and stuff in there. But the pyramids play a major key in the return of the Messiah, which is why Isaiah 19 talks about Egypt. Because the pyramids are not Egyptian. They're not. It goes beyond Egypt. But the Egyptians were perverted by different sons, which is why their history is similar to our history, but their history was perverted by different sons, and they didn't follow the right way. They got twisted somewhere, but they will come back on the right path. So I don't all the way knock Egyptians or those who follow Egyptology, but I just know that they will come back to a more correct way in the end, as Isaiah 19 talks about. But my time is just about up, and like I said, those three pyramids in Egypt, the pillars that Seth built to warn us of the different floods, and they just rebuilt it. That's all. So with that, I'm going to say shalom. Shalom.